Friends, welcome back. In this video, we will discuss one more critical listening exercise that will be useful to develop your logical skills for attempting the VRC section of CAT and for other management exams like MAT, GMAT, etc. So we have already been discussing this kind of questions past so many videos. So this is the 21st exercise. So by this time, you should be able to tackle the questions without an issue. People who are beginners, I would suggest that you start from the first video itself. It is given in the playlist. All the critical listening videos are given in the playlist. So on the first video itself, if you start watching by the time you watch the 21st video, you would be able to crack the questions without too much of a problem. Are not very difficult as such in this particular video or the exercise. The questions are not very difficult, so you should be able to tackle it without an issue. So the as usual, the questions are given in the form of an exercise. The link to the exercise is provided in the video description. So please attempt the exercise and then watch the video so that your learning can be refined and all the nuances and the finer points of application of logical skills can be clearly understood and developed by you before you attempt the actual exam. Right. Come to the first question. So here we have a question in which two statements are given. A lot of paintings are there in the Huller Gallery, and all the paintings in the Huller Gallery are by French painters. So every painting hanging in the Huller Gallery is by a French painter. That is the first information. Second information is no painting in the Huller Gallery is by a vorticist. This is maybe some class of painters. We don't know. Some section of painters who are following a particular style or who belong to a particular sect, or we don't know. Some kind of painters. So what can we understand from these two statements? Means any French painter whose painting is displayed in the Huller Gallery is not a vorticist. That is what you have to understand. So reduce these two sentences into one simple idea. That is, the painters whose paintings are displayed in the Huller Gallery are all French painters, and they are not vorticists. This is the idea. And only vorticists use acrylic monochrome. So acrylic monochrome is a kind of uh, paint or some kind of material with which they paint. So these only vortices are using these kind of acrylic monochromes. These are the ideas. Now, from the information, you have to find which is the true inference. So, an inference is an understanding that you can get from the facts provided in the passage. So, inferences should always be supported by the facts. So, this is the basic understanding which we have discussed in the first video. Now, we can examine the options one by one. Option A, no French painter. Actually, it is painter. A French painter is a vorticist. So, is it true or not? Is it true? We can only say that all the painters whose paintings are displayed in the Ruler Gallery are French painters and they are not vortices. So there might be a lot of other French painters whose paintings are not displayed in the Ruler Gallery, and there could be some vortices among them. Whereas this statement is saying that all the French painters are not vortices. This cannot be true. We cannot say that no French painter is a vorticist. Is not something we can say from the statement. We can only say that no French painter whose paintings are displayed in the gallery are not vortices. So here, this option is not a correct inference. You can ignore it. Option B, all vortices use acrylic monochromes in their works. Is it true? It says that the passage says that only vortices use acrylic monochromes. So whether all the vortices are using acrylic monochrome, we don't know. Let's say this is the group of all vortices, and this is a group of vortices using monochromes. So monochromes. So we can say that people who are using acrylic monochromes in their paintings are all vortices. But whether all the vortices are using acrylic monochromes, we cannot say, because there could be many other vortices who are not using, but all the people who are using are vortices. This is what we have from the passage. So we cannot say that all the vortices are using acrylic monochrome, because let us say there is one member here. He is a vorticist, but he is not using acrylic monochromes. That is why this option also cannot be true. Then option C, some French painters do not use acrylic monochromes in their works. Is it correct or not? See, from the passage, we know that there could be, or from the first two statements, we can see that there could be a lot of French painters whose paintings are not displayed here, who are not vortices. So they, and when they are not vortices, they will not be using acrylic monochrome because only vortices are using acrylic monochrome. So there could be a lot of French painters who will not be using acrylic monochrome. So by reading these two statements together, this is a good conclusion. So keep it in your mind. This could be a possible answer. Option D: no French painters use acrylic monochromes in their works. Again, wrong because we know that there are a lot of French painters who are vortices because their paintings are displayed. There could be a lot of French painters who could be vortices because their paintings are not displayed here because all the French painters whose paintings are displayed here, they are not vortices. So no French painters using acrylic monochrome, no French painters use acrylic monochromes in their works. Is it true? It cannot be true. Why? Why it cannot be true? Because there could be French painters who are vortices and who use acrylic monochrome. There are the French painters whose paintings are displayed in the cooler gallery. They are not vortices. They will not be using acrylic monochrome. But other French painters could be using acrylic monochrome. So what we can say is that no French painters whose paintings are displayed in the cooler gallery use acrylic monochrome. That's all we can say. But we cannot generalize being said saying that no French painters means no French painters at all use acrylic monochrome. That is not something we can say or infer from the passage. So this is wrong. Option E: all French painters use acrylic monochromes in their works. So what is the connection between acrylics and acrylic monochromes? It's not given in the passage. So this statement says that all the French painters who are using acrylics use acrylic monochrome. This may or may not be true because we don't have any information in the passage regarding the connection between acrylics and acrylic monochromes. So we cannot say that this could be a true statement. So all these can be ignored. So the only correct statement that can be directly deduced from the statement is option C. I hope this is clear to you. All right, now go to the next question. So the next question is talking about aesthetic judgment. What is aesthetic judgment? Your opinion regarding the beauty or quality of something is known as an aesthetic judgment. And it is a, what is subjective? Subjective means it is based on your experience, your personal preferences, your past history, your biases, prejudices, etc. So a subjective opinion means an opinion that can need not be shared by anybody else. It is your own personal opinion. So it's a, the passage is that all contemporary works of art. What is a contemporary work of art? Any painting or a novel or any kind of music or movies or anything that is a creative art which is produced at the same time when you are living. That is called a contemporary work of art. Anything that is contemporary to your life or anything that is produced or it has come out during your lifespan is called a contemporary work of art. And the passage says that all contemporary works of art are subjective because there might be a lot of disagreements between people regarding their aesthetic value or their quality. Because one person may agree that or think that there is a good or a very good work of art, another person will say that it is not a good work of art. So that is why you cannot have a objective opinion. Objective means anything, any opinion that is devoid of or that is excluded or that is not having any personal biases. It is called an objective opinion. So contemporary works of art cannot be having an objective opinion because you are influenced by your personal uh, choices or preferences. This is what the passage says. But as time goes on, what happens? If the work of art is able to survive the passage of time, gradually the subjective element disappears because people die and other set of people come in. So if a fresh set of group of people are also able to appreciate that work of art, in spite of their personal prejudices, then it becomes a truly great work of art. That is why any artwork that survives generations or that survives the various generations of people that survives centuries, that can truly be called a great work of art objectively because it is appreciated by different generations of people. This is what the passage says. So passage says that a work of art that is contemporary, generally there will be a lot of disagreements between people. So that is why it is called subjective. It is, you cannot have an objective judgment, but if that particular work of art is able to survive the passage of time and the coming generations are also able to enjoy or appreciate its quality, then it becomes a objectively a great work of art. This is the meaning. That is why the examples are given as the paintings of Michelangelo, the music of Bach, the plays of Shakespeare, etc., because they have survived for centuries. That is why they are still, we can objectively call them as great. This is the meaning of the passage. Now, the statements above best support which are the following approaches. So now you have to find a conclusion that is based on the passage. What is a conclusion? Any inference that is supported by certain assumptions which are based on, and these inferences must be based on the facts we provided you. So in simple terms, anything that is clearly supported by the passage should be a good conclusion, or anything that is not clearly supported by the passage cannot be a good conclusion. So you have to think about the various aspects and angles, and only then you have to say whether it is whether the conclusion is supported by the passage or not. Option A, when Michelangelo, Bach, and Shakespeare were alive, critics disagreed about their value of work. It says that an objectively great work of art in its time, it might have had objections. Correct. But what is the problem here? It says that critics disagreed. What the passage is saying? Often disagree. Means when a work of art is contemporary, critics often disagree about the value of a particular work of art. So it does not mean that critics always disagree. So during their time, we cannot say that there was lot of there was definitely disagreement between the various critics about the work of art. Because the passage is that generally there will be disagreements, but it is not sure or it is not guaranteed. Whereas this option says that the critics always disagreed about the value of their work when they were alive. So this probably is not a good conclusion because of the word often. And one more issue is we commonly speak of aesthetic judgment. So here again, aesthetic judgments are not always spoken of as subjective. Most of the time they are subjective. So this is why there is a room for a disagreement, or there is a room for the other view also. So that is why this option cannot be stated as a correct conclusion, because here critics disagreed means critics always disagreed about a work of art. So this cannot be true. Option B, the value of a contemporary work of art cannot be objectively measured. What it says that? It says that the value of a contemporary, as long as the work of art is contemporary, it cannot be objectively assessed for its value. Whether it is correct or not, see, in the short term, they are. Means we generally speak of aesthetic judgments as subjective. Means when we think about the quality of a particular work of art, it is described as subjective, and in the short term they are definitely subjective. That is a meaning. So we generally speak of aesthetic judgments as subjective, means whether it is a great work of art that has survived for centuries or a contemporary work of art, it is generally thought of as subjective. Means your opinion regarding a work of art, whether it is a great work of art, it is also subjective, and it is a contemporary work of art, it is also subjective. But in the short term, they are definitely subjective. Means when you are talking about a contemporary work of art, it is definitely subjective. Whereas when you talk about a great work of art that has survived for centuries, we generally speak of there could be disagreements. So that is why this is a definite statement, because the value of a contemporary work of art cannot be objectively measured. So it says that in the it is supported by the clause here, and the short term there. So in the short term, any work of art can be or cannot be objectively measured. It is always subjective. So this is probably a correct answer. Keep it in your mind. Option C, the reputation of work of art often fluctuates greatly from one generation to another. It says that work of art in the contemporary generation, it may have a bad opinion, but later on it may have a good opinion. So that is why but you read the sentence properly. The reputation of work of art often fluctuates greatly. Is it fluctuating greatly is not stated in the passage. Any conclusion has to be very clearly supported by the passage. So here, the reputation, whether it is fluctuating or what is great fluctuation, you think of a particular work of art as a bad or a very, very completely distasteful work of art now. After 1 century, you think of it as a great work of art. So that kind of fluctuation is not stated in the passage. It says that generally, when people think about today's artworks, there will be a lot of disagreements. But the same artwork, if it survives for 100 years or 150 years or 200 years, then there is general agreement that it is a great work of art. This is the meaning. So the rate fluctuation is not implied in the passage. So probably because of that, we cannot think of it as a good conclusion. Option D, the mere fact that a work of art has endured for centuries does not establish its greatness. This is contrary to what the passage says. Passage says that over the time, subjective element disappears when a work of art has continued to delight audiences for centuries. We can objectively call them as great. So the passage very clearly says that when a work of art uh, has survived for centuries, it will definitely be great. Whereas this option says that it cannot be stated as great. So this is contrary to what the passage says, wrong again. Option E, if critics agree about the value of a particular contemporary work of art, then the work can objectively be called great. Means if the critics at present are agreeing about the particular contemporary work of art, then we can objectively be called great. This is not derived from the conclusion or not derived from the passage. So the passage is that only if a work of art survives for centuries, then it can be objectively called great. Whereas this option says that if the critics of a particular contemporary work of art are all uniform in their opinion that it is great, then it can be called as a great work of art objectively. No, the passage says that the essential quality for a work of art to be called great is that it has to survive for centuries. That is why when works of art have continued to delight the audiences for centuries, then only we can call them as great. So this option is also not derived from the passage, so wrong. So we can have options A and B as the probable answers, but the option A is having the problem critics disagreed, means always critics disagreed. Option says that they often disagree. So that is why we cannot say that when these the works of art of Michelangelo, Bach, and Shakespeare, etc., when they were contemporary, their critics had disagreed about it. No, we cannot always say that. So that is why this is not correct. So what we can definitely say is that value of a contemporary work of art cannot be objectively measured. The basic qualification for a great work of art is that it has to survive for centuries. That is what the passage is. So any contemporary work of art cannot be objectively measured for its qualities. B is a good answer. It is the best answer that you can derive from this, or the best conclusion that you can derive from this passage. Now, question number 3. Since the 55 miles speed limit was mandated on our highways, both money and human lives have been saved. So there is a speed limit of 55 miles per hour. This was implemented on the highways, both money and human lives have been saved. This is the statement. Now, you have to find a statement or an option that strengthens this claim, except. No, means you have to find a statement that does not strengthen the claim. So our target or our objective is to find a statement that is not supporting the claim that the speed limit imposed on the highways was beneficial for both saving money as well as for saving lives. That is what you have to find. So option A, most highway users find that travel times are not appreciably lengthened by the 55 mile per hour speed limit. What is the meaning? Even though speed limit was introduced, the travel time is not increased too much. That is the meaning. So whether it supports the claim, so the claim is regarding money as well as human lives. Here we are talking about the saving of time. The passage is having the claim regarding saving of money saving of human life. So saving of time is not stated as a claim. So this option will not support the claim because we have to find an option that supports the claim. The claim is regarding saving of money and time, money and lives, whereas this option is talking about this. Not uh, this option is basically talking about saving of time or not spending too much extra time. So this may be your answer because we have find an exception. So keep this answer in your mind. Option B, highway driving at 55 miles per hour or less is more fuel efficient than high speed driving. Means with this speed limit is making the vehicles more fuel efficient. More fuel efficient means more savings of money. So this is directly supporting the claim. So since it is supporting the claim, not our answer, we have to find a statement that does not support the claim. Option C, nearly all highway safety experts agree that more accidents occur at over 55 miles per hour than at lower speeds. So again, a statement that says that speed limit is directly benefiting the in the or directly going towards saving of human lives. Again, this is supporting the claim regarding the saving of human lives because more accidents occur at speeds over 55 miles per hour means when you are driving at lower speeds, there will be less accident. Less accident means less casualties, so more saving of human lives. So this again is supporting. So not our answer. Option D, the percentage of fatalities occurring in highways. Fatalities means deaths occurring in highway accidents at speeds greater than 55 miles per hour is higher than that for lower speed limit. Means when you are driving it less than 55 miles per hour, there will be less number of deaths. So again, very clearly supporting the claim regarding saving of human lives. So not our answer. Option E, automobiles last longer and require fewer repairs when driven at constantly lower speeds. So when you drive at lower speeds, there will be less maintenance, means saving of money. So again, supporting the claim. So all the options except option A is directly supporting the claim or strengthening the claim. Option A is not strengthening the claim because our claim is not regarding time, it is only regarding money and human life. So option A is clearly the answer. That's all for now. I hope you have enjoyed the video and understood the techniques that you have to implement. The basic thing is understand the statements given in the question and see what is the question asking you to find out. Be very clear about that. Then reduce the question or reduce the information given to you into simple ideas and then analyze the options one by one, eliminate the options and then arrive at the correct answer. So this we have already discussed many times in the previous videos. So I hope you have enjoyed and found it useful. If you have found this video to be useful, kindly like, share, and subscribe so that I get motivated to come up with further videos. Thank you. Bye.